Hi, this is Brennan Scott Pilcher, artist and author extraordinaire, and I just came out of the movie The End of Oak Street, which actually entered theaters yesterday. I saw it this afternoon, and it's been getting good reviews, which surprised me a bit, even because dinosaur movies don't usually get good reviews unless they're the original Jurassic Park or the or King Kong. It seems that a lot of critics don't really like most dinosaur movies, but this was a decent move. This was a pretty decent. I have to say, having come out of it, I think this was a pretty decent movie. At least in terms of entertainment value. I, I, but I do have a lot of negatives to note, and actually actually kind of stick out in my mind a bit more than the positives. So so I'm going to give you a bit. I don't think I'll have too many. I'm not going to have too many spoilers planned here. There might be a few because I'm going off the cuff and not reading from a script. But so I might mention some spoilers, but I'm going to try to keep the spoilers to a minimum. So uh, here goes my review. First, I'm going to summarize the plot briefly, then tell you what I liked and did not like about it. The plot's basically about the suburban neighborhood that is somehow transported via some kind of science fiction style wormholes or teleport is somehow teleported via some kind of science fiction wormholes an undis- to an undetermined point in the Mesozoic era. The undetermined part I'll get back to later, and the main characters are this family of people who are clearly are undergoing some kind of rift, especially between the parents. The mother and father are contemplating divorce. The mother is an author who has written a whole book that's basically as where her self-insert character divorces from her family and runs away. And it's very obviously it's very clear that she plans that's what she wants to do with her real family. That's Anne Hathaway's character. I didn't really recognize. I don't really know most of the actors in this movie, but Anne Hathaway is the ones everyone's been mentioning. I think that's the mother in this movie, and basically they're teleported to the Mesozoic era, and these dinosaurs are coming in from the surrounding forest to terrorize everyone and run and cause trouble, and um that's and the family is trying to survive while waiting for the next once they figure out that what how the wormholes work. They're looking for the next wormhole to jump through and take it back to their own time, which is basically the early 1980s. Yeah, there's not really that much 80s nostalgia here. Maybe people who actually lived through that decade might remember some things here, but it's not really that 1980s feeling to me. There's not a lot of synthesizer music or weird hairstyles or anything else we might associate with the 80s. But the film does start in the 80s, and there's some foreshadowing to the main teleportation of it by having things from the prehistoric era teleport to their time. For example, there's the cycad like plant that someone finds in their backyard, and it's like revealed that it's supposed to be extinct, and that's foreshadowing when the whole neighborhood will be teleported to the dinosaur era. That's not the only thing that's teleported, but again, I'm trying to keep the spoilers to the minimum. Anyway, as far as the things I liked, well, the entertainment value is pretty decent. I mean, it is a dinosaurs running around chasing people, and even though the dinosaurs are all CGI, I didn't see recognize any practical effects. They do look the quality of the CGI is pretty much theatrical film grade. It's not really terrible or anything. It's not like a sci-fi original movie where the CGI is really bad. The effects are pretty decent. We occasionally we do get views of the surrounding environment, of the prehistoric environment surrounding the neighborhood after the teleportation event, and it does look pretty cool. I kind of wish we'd seen a bit more of that surrounding environment, but since most of the action takes place within the teleported neighborhood, we don't really see that much. We don't really see that much. We don't really see that much of the prehistoric era outside the neighborhood. So the suspense is there's some genuine suspense here, a little blood and gore here or there, not a lot. Some characters of great importance do get killed. So, including one member of the family, I'm not going to say who it is. There is some genuine tragedy that shakes up the characters pretty badly. The characters themselves are okay. The main character arc is basically the family is kind of a traditional one of the family coming back together after contemplating divorce. It's a bit like one of the character arcs in the first Jurassic World movie or the fourth Jurassic Park movie, which remember there were these two boys that were sent to Jurassic World because they're while their parents were contemplating divorce, and later the whole after the events of the movie, the family comes together again. The parents come together to see their kids again, and it's implied that the family's coming back together. This is the end of Oak Street has a similar character arc in that regard. That said, the human characters aren't really the main draw of a dinosaur movie like this, so I can't say they really stood out very much as characters. They're not really they're likable characters. They're not obnoxious or you don't want to see them die, but they're not outstanding, impactful like the ones in the original Jurassic Park, for example. And yeah, and the premise of a suburban neighborhood being teleported by wormholes to dinosaur times is pretty cool. Is a pretty cool one. I kind of like the idea of I kind of like the trope of wormholes just popping out of nowhere to taking people to different locations than what they're used to. There's no explanation for why the wormholes are happening. It's just kind of implied to be some random. It's basically some sort of random thing, or it's inexplicable. But I don't think there really needs to be an explanation. As long as people know what wormholes are, they can probably figure out what's happening. Although I don't think there needs to be an explanation for why the wormholes are popping out and taking people and transporting people. And yeah, that's a trope I do think is kind of cool. I would like to see it in more fiction. You could have all kinds of characters visiting times and places they wouldn't be able to access naturally. That's a trope I would like to see more often in any kind of fiction with a fantasy or sci-fi or speculative genre angle. Yeah, and that's that's the positives. I'm going to note the negatives here. The ending's kind of anticlimactic. It felt very rushed. I'm not going to spoil it in detail, but this is it's not really as epic as what you might see in some of the better Jurassic Park sequels or Jurassic Park itself. It's not really as awe-inspiring as that. It did feel very rushed, and things were tied up very neatly, maybe a little too neatly, and there's not really the tragedy I mentioned that happening doesn't really have many lasting consequences right to the end. It's so which it's basically undone by the very end. That's the closest thing I'll get to a spoiler about it, and the ending is not very satisfactory for that reason. And yeah, the selection of dinosaurs is okay, but one thing that bothered me was that even though it's implied that people travel back, it's even though it's clearly stated that people travel back to the past, were teleported to the dinosaur era. The dinosaurs seem to be from all over the place chronologically. Like you have Cretaceous dinosaurs like Spinosaurus, Jurassic dinosaurs like Allosaurus, and even some Triassic animals pop running around here and there. It didn't really feel like it was any particular period in the dinosaur era, and for that reason, that did bother me. It kind of like I don't necessarily need a dinosaur movie to be perfectly accurate at all the time. Like for example, Gennady Tartovsky's Primal series is obviously set in a fantasy world with all kinds of anachronisms and anatomical inaccuracies, but it's obviously fantasy, so I can forgive it for that. And but since the end of Oak Street is supposed to be set in the past of our world, I would expect a bit more in terms of accuracy. At least a higher, I would hold it to a higher standard than say the Jurassic World movies, which are obviously drawing from a continuity that goes back to the 1990s, so they can't be completely accurate even if they wanted to. But I would hold this to a bit of a higher standard since it's not tied to an older continuity, and It's it's supposed to be the dinosaurs supposed to be the dinosaurs from our past, which brings me to the another era is the dinosaur designs. They're not that great looking in terms of design. A major issue was is actually kind of the opposite of what you see in the Jurassic World movies. People criticize Jurassic Park and Jurassic World for not putting feathers on certain dinosaurs that did well. We know from fossil impressions and anatomical correlate, osteological correlates that did have feathers in real life. This film kind of makes the opposite, has the opposite problem of putting too many feathers on dinosaurs, especially dinosaurs that probably did not have feathers in real life. Like, for example, the sauropod. We have skin impressions from a lot of the dinosaurs that are shown having feathers in this film, and the fact is, these dinosaurs were scaly in real life. Like we have these sauropods dinosaurs, the long neck dinosaurs that are portrayed as very shaggy in the movie, but we have a lot of skin impressions from sauropod dinosaurs, and they're almost exclusively scaly. And the key thing to think in mind is that feathers in dinosaurs are pretty much the province of one particular lineage of the meat-eating dinosaurs or theropods. A particular lineage called the Solorosaurs. I don't know how it's pronounced. I know how to spell it, but I don't know how to pronounce it. And those are the dinosaurs we know for a fact predominantly were feathered, with the exception being the Tyrannosaur dinosaurs like T-Rex. Those are probably scaly, and but most of the other Sorolosaurs do seem to have been feathered in life. But other than that, most dinosaurs would have been scaly. There have been a few dinosaurs outside the Solorosaurian lineage that do have bristles or spikes or thorns that look like feathers to some people, but those are an exception. Pretty much all the other dinosaurs that are not Sorolosaurs are pretty much scaly. Scaly skin probably was the ancestral state of dinosaurs, contrary to what some armchair paleontologists on the internet will tell you. And this film kind of makes the mistake, is kind of guilty of what I call overfeathering, which is putting feathers on dinosaurs that probably didn't have them, which in my opinion is just as inaccurate as putting scales on dinosaurs that were feathered in real life. So, and that did kind of bug me through the movie. I don't know, again, dinosaurs, depending on the story, not or the setting, dinosaurs in a movie don't always have to be accurate. But I think for this particular time travel movie, there should be more of an effort to make them somewhat paleontologically accurate, and they didn't do that, and that did kind of bother me, especially since this overly feathery trend is actually kind of prevalent in a lot of modern dinosaur art. A lot of so-called paleo artists will put feathers on dinosaurs that probably didn't have them, and that's and I think because since these are possibly making scientifically accurate art, I feel they're more guilty of misinforming people than any of the Jurassic Park movies, because at least the Jurassic Park movies are explicitly entertainment. I mean, they're not scientific art. But that I digress from that. And The End of Oak Street was overall an okay movie. I'd rank it 7 out of 10. It's don't expect if you're not a dinosaur nerd like me, you'll probably enjoy it quite a bit. But I did, and you probably will have fun. But I am a dinosaur nerd, and I will say the inaccuracies bother me more than they would for some other movies. And that's what I have to say about this movie. And anyway, oh, well, I forgot to review Jurassic World Rebirth last year. I did see it, and it wasn't that good. It's probably my second least favorite Jurassic Park movie after Jurassic Park 3. And it had its redeeming qualities, but I found it kind of underwhelming overall. But I might review that on another video. I'll have to rewatch it again, but I might review Jurassic World Rebirth another time. But anyway, I'm done with The End of Oak Street for the time being, and I'm going to say thanks for listening, and be sure to follow me on YouTube for the artwork I post here, as well as occasional longer videos. This is Brendan Pilcher signing off. Have a nice day.